Hello there, my lovelies. How's it going? Welcome to my channel, Boomy Reactions. For those of you who are new, my name's Boomy, and thank you for watching. Now today, guys, we're going to be catching up on another, well, I was going to say a tornado video, but it's not a tornado. This is a hurricane this time. I have quite the interest in these natural disasters. They seem like absolute nightmares. It's a bit of a morbid curiosity I have in them. But like I've said a few times, here in the UK, we don't really get extreme weather. So they're always a bit of a source of fascination, you know, and horror. I should say horror, really, because they're absolutely awful, but we just don't experience anything like it. So all we can do really is just watch on with our jaws dropped on the floor because it just looks like scenes from horror films. Like we can't even imagine the devastation, just the utter chaos that these weather extremes can cause. Like I said, we just don't have anything similar. I think we get 13 tornadoes on any given year in the UK. What we know of tornadoes, we just kind of consider them high-speed winds. Yeah, they can do damage, but just nowhere near the scale that we would see from the tornadoes or hurricanes from the US and other parts of the world as well, but specifically in the US today. So this video has been requested by one of my lovely patrons. This is from Brian. Thank you so much, my lovely. Now, Brian says, "Hey, Boomy, just knowing the good parts of New Orleans isn't enough. You also need to know about what happened during Hurricane Katrina. This is a very good video about what happened and the aftermath. So this video is the storm that drowned the entire state." Okay, I remember very, very vaguely, I was young, 2005. I remember seeing the awful events of Hurricane Katrina on the news as a child. And I remember there was flooding as well, wasn't it? It wasn't so much the kind of the hurricane or the winds that I can remember, more so the aftermath. It was the flooding, wasn't it? How did it cause the flooding? Was it just that the hurricane brought rain with it, with the storms, and did they overwhelm like local rivers, lakes maybe, and then it burst the banks? I'm not really sure how the flooding happened. I remember seeing specifically the flooding, the scenes from the devastation just caused by all the flooding. So I'm assuming that was caused by the rains brought along with the hurricane. But Brian, you also say, for me, so this was your perspective, obviously, as a New Orleans resident. Our house, the one I moved, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Brian. Our house, the one I moved out of last year, was in one of the higher areas of the city. We only had the chimney fall off and a few broken windows. Oh gosh, it sounds like, well, that sucks, but it sounds like you were quite fortunate in that the damage was quite, I want to say minimized, but that's not minimum damage at all. We left the day before the storm and we were in traffic for about 17 hours going over to Houston, Texas, where your sister was living. And you got food stamps, so you could get groceries, make groceries, while you were displaced. Later, you went back to your sister's other house in Baton Rouge, where you could be closer to your home when the authorities said that you could move back into the city, strictly just to check on your house because nobody had electricity for a long time. And you've just noted here that you were able to move back in 3 months after you left. Oh my gosh, this was quite a long duration hurricane. That sounds like a crazy thing to say. I don't really know the average lifespan of a tornado hurricane, but this one went on for quite a while. It was past a week, if I remember, or around about a week, and no one had electricity. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine anything worse. I honestly, like I said, with our weather being so mild, I know we complain an awful lot about the weather over in the UK. It's our favourite thing to do, favourite pastime, whinge about the weather. But it's mild. It's interchangeable, but it's mild. And I just cannot comprehend weather, damage, just this chaos. I just can't comprehend it. So that sounds absolutely awful, Brian. Oh my gosh. I imagine there's an awful lot of viewers out there that, even if you didn't experience the devastation from this particular hurricane, you probably remember seeing it on the news and, oh gosh. Anyway, let's watch the video. I think this video is from, it's Dark Horizon. Now, I've seen one of the videos from this channel not too long ago. I think it was the fire tornado. So I love his voice. Okay, so we've got Dark Horizon, and this is the storm that drowned the entire state, Hurricane Katrina. Oh gosh.
August 29th, 2005. It's early morning on the Gulf Coast, and one of the most powerful hurricanes in American history is bearing down on the city of New Orleans.
I keep thinking of tornadoes. I'm in tornado brain, tornado mode. And I was just about to say, this is outside of hurricane, tornado season. Are they interchangeable? Are they the same thing? Because is this outside of, is it tornado season or hurricane? Oh, I know there's a difference. I'm in tornado brain.
Meteorologists had been watching Katrina for days. What started as a disorganized cluster of storms in the Bahamas had exploded into a Category 5 monster over the Gulf of Mexico, the first to form there in 25 years.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to keep stopping this and asking questions. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm trying to minimize how much I talk. So I'm confused with this particular hurricane. Was it considered a Category 3 or a Category 5? Which one is it?
And Katrina is still blowing strong tonight, building in strength as it heads across the Gulf of Mexico, and it's expected to hit land a second time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I had better news for you, but I do want the citizens to understand that this is very serious and it's of the highest nature. The first choice for every citizen is to figure out a way to leave the city.
By the time evacuation orders went out, over 1 million people had already left. But tens of thousands couldn't, or didn't.
Oh, hence the traffic, as you mentioned, Brian, yes.
And what was coming for them was far worse than they could imagine.
No, stop
because
talking,
the storm
guys!
wasn't the only threat. What destroyed the city had been quietly failing for 40 years, and every single engineer who looked at it knew it. They wrote reports. They ran simulations. Just 1 year before the storm, the government modeled exactly what would happen if it broke. The results were catastrophic, and nothing was done.
Right, here we go.
What happened next didn't just flood a city.
So this is the footage. These are the kind of scenes that I remember seeing on the TV.
It drowned an entire state. To understand what happens on August 29th, 2005, you first have to understand what New Orleans is and why it was always one catastrophic storm away from disappearing. New Orleans sits in southern Louisiana, wedged between Lake Pontchartrain to the north and the Mississippi River to the south. It is one of the most geographically vulnerable cities in the world.
Really? I had no idea.
Much of the city lies below sea level, in some neighborhoods, as much as 10 feet below. The only reason New Orleans exists at all in its current form is because of an enormous interlocking system of levees, flood walls, and drainage canals that hold back the surrounding water on every side. Take that system away, and New Orleans doesn't flood, it sinks. And everyone in the city knew it. For generations, this system worked. And for generations, the people of New Orleans lived with the quiet understanding that it had to keep working because the alternative was unthinkable. But there was a problem that engineers and scientists had been raising for years. The levees protecting New Orleans had been built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers over several decades, and many of them were not built to withstand a major hurricane. Studies going back to the 1990s had modeled what would happen if a large, slow-moving storm made a direct hit on the city. The results were consistently alarming.
How is it the state, or specifically the city here, how is it that it's remained standing for so long? What's kept the lake, the river, the water, what's kept it at bay? Like, how is it managed without these structures, these man-built structures in place?
In 2004, 1 year before Katrina, FEMA funded a disaster simulation exercise called Hurricane Pam. It looked at what would happen if a slow-moving Category 3 hurricane hit New Orleans directly.
Oh, no.
The simulation predicted tens of thousands of deaths, a city completely submerged, a humanitarian catastrophe of a scale the United States had never experienced.
You know, I've got another question. So if this simulation was done the year before Hurricane Katrina, who didn't listen to the advice from the experts here? Why was nothing done? Why was nothing put in place? Was there things put in place?
When researchers presented their findings to federal officials,
here we go.
they recall the room not taking it seriously. One scientist described feeling like, quote, "The whole idea was Hurricane Pam was to educate, but, there were a lot of federal folks who were just in the back room laughing. I
Really?
distinctly got the feeling that I was the geek with a strange accent, and that was it." The warnings were there. The problem wasn't a lack of information. It was what happened next.
Who did what with the information? The fact that these federal professionals laughed this poor chap out the room is awful. We've heard similar things about the warnings presented to health organizations globally just before COVID hit. And there's a number of incidents like that where simulations have taken place, authorities have been warned, didn't take it seriously, and then there was a global pandemic. Pandemic. I can't get my words out today. We're hearing it more and more though, aren't we, guys? When are people going to take the scientists seriously? It's a case
On
of
August
when it happens, not
23rd,
if.
2005, a tropical depression formed over the southeastern Bahamas.
Is that like a
Within
cyclone?
24 hours, the depression strengthens into Tropical Storm Katrina. It moves west, crosses the Bahamas, and on August 25th, makes its first landfall in South Florida as a Category 1 hurricane with 80 miles per hour winds.
So at this point, we're a Category 1. Oh, so it hit. Of course, hurricanes, tornadoes, they travel, don't they, at greater distances. Okay, so I don't know why I'm surprised to hear this. First stop was Florida. Oh! Footage like this makes me feel so horrendously guilty about complaining about rain. A bit of drizzle. Oh, we do in the UK. It's also, we love whinging about the weather. Too hot, too wet, too cold. Too much snow, too much ice. Not ever seeing snow for a few years. This makes me feel horrendous. I want to say I will never complain about the rain again, but it's in my blood. I'm going to.
It kills 14 people and moves into the Gulf of Mexico, where it weakens briefly over land before encountering something that changes everything.
Oh my gosh, I've already stopped this video so many times. My understanding is that as hurricanes pass over bodies of water, don't they increase in intensity or strength, or they pick up wind speed? What is it that happens?
Thing that would make Katrina
But it's still on
impossible
land.
to stop. The Gulf of Mexico in late August is warm, unusually warm. The water temperatures Katrina moves over are around 30 degrees Celsius. essentially high-octane fuel for a tropical system.
Yeah.
A strong divergence in the upper-level airflow above the storm allows it to rapidly expel heat and intensify with almost nothing holding it back. The results are staggering. On August 27th, Katrina reaches Category 3 strength. The following morning, just after midnight, it is upgraded to Category 4. By 7 a.m. on August 28th, Katrina has become a Category 5 hurricane, the first to form in the Gulf of Mexico in 25 years.
So again, I'm confused. So hurricanes and tornadoes, yes, I understand they can, they can dissipate and then another can form miles down the road, and they're all part of the same storm, the same cluster of tornadoes, hurricanes. So if you have this hurricane that's appeared in Florida as a Category 1, now it's ramped up, it's appeared as a Category 4 and now a Category 5. How is the final decision made on what category this is?
Maximum sustained winds of 175 miles per hour. Its central pressure drops to 902 millibars, making it one of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded. At 10 a.m. on August 28th, New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin issues the first mandatory evacuation order in the city's history.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I had better news for you, but we are facing a storm that most of us have feared. I do not want to create panic, but I do want the citizens to understand that this is very serious and it's of the highest nature, and that's why we're taking this unprecedented move. The storm is now a Cat 5, a Category 5, as I appreciate it, so that's why we're ordering a mandatory evacuation.
It is, by any measure, the right call.
This is not wholly relevant, but I just want to say, is that what your mayors look like? They look very, very different from our mayors. Very handsome chap here. He was the mayor of New Orleans. He's very handsome.
It is also, for many residents, already too late to fully act on. Those without cars, those who are elderly, those who are ill. For hundreds of thousands of people, the order to leave is not the same as the ability to leave. Forecasters at the National Hurricane Center issue warnings that are among the most dire ever written for an American city. One bulletin, released on the afternoon of August 28th, states that the storm surge could cause the levee system to be overtopped, that human suffering will be incredible, that water shortages will make human existence nearly impossible. The bulletin warns of areas that may be uninhabitable for weeks. The language is almost unprecedented for an official weather forecast. But even as those words are being written, Katrina is already beginning to weaken slightly as it moves over slightly cooler waters closer to shore. By the time it makes landfall, it is no longer a Category 5. But the damage that is coming has already been set in motion. The surge, the enormous wall of ocean water pushed ahead of the storm, was built during Katrina's peak intensity. By the time Katrina made landfall, it was no longer a Category 5, but the most dangerous part of the storm had already been created.
Started.
At 6:10 a.m. on August 29th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina makes landfall at Buras in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, approximately 50 miles southeast of New Orleans, as a strong Category 3 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour. Its central pressure at landfall is 920 millibars, the fourth lowest ever recorded for a U.S. landfalling hurricane. It then continues northeast and makes a second landfall near the Mississippi-Louisiana border.
Isn't the movement of hurricanes and tornadoes, similarly, their path is absolutely bizarre. I think I've asked this before, but I'm still not 100% on what it is that causes these tornadoes, hurricanes. I'll just use them interchangeably. I'm sorry if that's not right. What causes their path to literally do like a 90-degree turn or almost in the opposite direction? What causes that? Or is there just no rhyme and reason to it?
Initially, federal officials believe the city has dodged the worst of it. The eye of the storm has passed slightly east of New Orleans.
But
the wind damage is serious, but survivable.
Okay.
For a brief period on the morning of August 29th, there is a sense of cautious relief. It doesn't last. Before dawn, waves from the storm surge had already begun overtopping and eroding levees along the Mississippi River Gulf outlet. At around 5 a.m., on the east side of the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal, a 30-foot section of flood wall, known locally as the Industrial Canal, the very waterway that experts had long warned would act as a deadly funnel, breaches.
No one listens.
Water begins pouring through.
Why didn't they listen? Not the locals, obviously. The big wigs, the top tier people. Why did no one listen to the scientists, to the people that know the warnings? Oh my gosh.
Then a second breach opens. Then another.
Oh.
Over the course of the next 24 hours, there will be more than 50 reported failures in the levee and floodwall system surrounding New Orleans. The water does not rise slowly. It surges. In the lower 9th Ward, residents describe walls of water appearing without warning, filling rooms in seconds. People who had chosen to ride out the storm in their homes suddenly find the water at their waist, then at their chest, then above their head. Those who can reach their attics do. Those who cannot, do not.
Hold the rope! Let him pull to the boat! Hey!
Later, rescuers will find axe marks in attic ceilings across the flooded neighborhoods. The marks of people who had managed to hack their way onto rooftops to escape the rising water inside.
Oh gosh.
Some made it, some did not. By the afternoon of August 29th, 20% of New Orleans is underwater. By August 31st, that number reaches 80%. Some parts of the city are submerged under 15 feet of water. The famous French Quarter and Garden District, among the oldest parts of the city, and crucially, among the few areas built above sea level, are largely spared. But the vast residential neighborhoods that surround them are gone. Lakeview, the lower 9th Ward, St. Bernard area, Gentilly, New Orleans East. These are not flooded, they are submerged.
Then underwater.
As the system
Not just flooded,
failed,
underwater.
the disaster shifted from infrastructure to people. Tens of thousands of people who could not evacuate seek shelter in two locations, the Louisiana Superdome and the New Orleans Convention Center. At the Superdome, roughly 15,000 people arrive before the storm. What follows is a humanitarian crisis that unfolds on live television in front of the entire country.
What made these people take refuge at the Superdome? Is it just known as being built on higher ground? What was it that made so many people flock here?
Food runs out. Water runs out. Toilets stop working. The roof of the Superdome is partially torn open by the wind. People are sleeping on concrete floors in 95-degree heat.
40,000 homes
So I'm
flooded
assuming
in
it
St.
is a
Bernard
bit,
Parish,
I
just
know.
east of New Orleans. At the Superdome, home to 9,000 storm refugees, chunks of the metal roof have been blown away. The stench of death especially strong around the convention center in the Superdome, where people have moved into the open air as they try to get away from it and closer to where buses and National Guardsmen can get to them.
We've been out here 4 days. We've really been out here 4 days.
Days pass before buses arrive to move people out. Outside, the city is a different kind of chaos. Thousands of people who are stranded in flooded homes communicate their locations however they can. spray painting rooftops, waving from upper story windows, calling family members who call news stations, who call emergency services.
Is there one building that had that been set on fire? Or
The response from local, state, and federal authorities is widely criticized as slow, uncoordinated, and inadequate.
why is the response from authorities slow, uncoordinated? You've already been given the warning a year earlier. You know, surely there's things in place, surely there's funding or just things that could be changed. I don't know, maybe that's a really naive thing to say.
FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, faces fierce criticism for its lack of preparation and its failure to mobilize resources quickly enough for a disaster that its own simulations had predicted in detail. One of the most haunting images of the entire disaster is the sight of people, mostly elderly, many of them without the means to leave, stranded on elevated highway overpasses in the August heat, surrounded by floodwater, waiting.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't actually even factored that in. Oh, on top of everything, this is August. In Louisiana, in New Orleans, this is it. It's humid. It's hot. What were the average temperatures like around here? Oh, gosh.
For help that takes days to arrive. Doris Commerdell, a 93-year-old woman from Chalmette in St. Bernard Parish, is rescued from her flooded home after spending several days trapped there. She had lived in the same house for decades. When rescuers reached her, she had been surviving on what little food she had managed to move to her second floor. Her neighborhood, like most of St. Bernard Parish, was completely destroyed. She never returned. The death toll accumulates slowly, because for days and then weeks, the full scale of what has happened is impossible to assess. Victims are found in attics, in flooded cars, in homes that look intact from the outside, but contain the remains of people who could not get out. Nearly 40% of the fatalities are attributed to drowning. Almost half of all victims are over the age of 74.
Oh my gosh. 40% of the casualties drowning. Oh.
The storm did not kill randomly. It killed the people who had the fewest
Most
options.
vulnerable.
The official death toll from Hurricane Katrina, revised by the National Hurricane Center in 2023, stands at approximately 1,400 people. The total damage reaches an estimated $125 billion, making it one of the costliest natural disasters in American history.
I think I remember hearing Hurricane Katrina was one of the most, not expensive isn't the right word, costliest, is that a word? It was one of the most costly, if not the most costly of all of the natural disasters, or was it out of all of the hurricanes, or, oh God, 1,400 people.
In Louisiana alone, over 1,500 people lose their lives. More than 134,000 housing units in New Orleans, 70% of all occupied homes in the city, sustain damage. 1 million housing units across the broader Gulf Coast region are affected. The population of New Orleans falls from nearly 485,000 before the storm to an estimated 230,000 by July of the following year.
What's happened with the population of New Orleans since?
More than half the city gone. Some neighborhoods never recover. The lower 9th Ward, one of the hardest hit areas, remains visibly scarred for years. Empty lots where houses once stood, streets that were rebuilt but never repopulated. In June 2006, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers officially acknowledges that faulty design specifications, incomplete sections, and substandard construction of levee segments contributed to the flooding of New Orleans. A subsequent analysis by the American Society of Civil Engineers concludes that 2/3 of the flooding could have been avoided if the levees had held.
Nobody wants to hear that statistic. Yes, it's the truth, okay? I think that is the most tragic detail about this, is that not only could it have been avoided, or the extent of the damage, the volume of fatalities and casualties, and just the scale of the damage, it could have been minimized if, what would you say, the government would have listened. That's the worst detail, actually, is that the warning was given. Simulations were done. The authorities were warned. And is it right to say, guys, do you think, anyone that is more knowledgeable about this kind of thing than me, do you think it's a fair thing to say that the authorities did nothing in response to the warning? That's a hard pill to swallow. That's awful. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe the authorities did attempt to make changes. I don't know. Let me know if you know anyone in the audience here. If you know, let me know in the comments, please. That would be amazing.
The deadliest aspect of Hurricane Katrina was not the storm.
It wasn't the wind.
It was the infrastructure failure that followed it. And that infrastructure failure was not inevitable. It was preventable.
That's the worst.
Not because no one knew, but because nothing was done.
And not that no one
The federal
listened.
government
The
eventually
authorities didn't
commits
listen.
more than $14 billion to rebuilding and reinforcing the levee system around New Orleans.
The Army Corps of Engineers is spending $14.3 billion to bolster New Orleans' hurricane protection system.
That's amazing. I just can't help feeling that it shouldn't take such a humanitarian crisis and such a disaster of this scale to push authorities into investing this when they've already been told the infrastructure isn't good enough. It shouldn't take, I'm a very, very anxious person. I'm very over the top with detail and, the what ifs. I'd like to think that I'd like to imagine that things are put in place before something bad happens. You can kind of see it happening. And this it's kind of an example of that, but so much worse. The specialists, the scientists have warned the authorities this is going to happen. It's not a case of if, it will. And your infrastructure isn't good enough. You need to do something about it. And it shouldn't take a natural disaster to push authorities into finally spending the money to do this. It's so sad.
I feel safe. Do I think the Corps of Engineers has done enough to protect this city, to protect this area? No.
New floodgates, pumps, and surge barriers are constructed. The system that exists today is substantially more robust than the one that failed in 2005.
Good.
Whether it is enough remains an open question that every hurricane season brings back into focus. Katrina's name was retired by the World Meteorological Organization in April 2006. It will never be used again for an Atlantic storm. 20 years later, New Orleans is still New Orleans. The music still plays on Frenchman Street. The food is still unlike anything else in America. The city rebuilt. But it rebuilt unevenly. And in the neighborhoods that bore the worst of the flooding, the question of whether the recovery was ever truly complete, that question has never fully gone away.
Or why would these areas of New Orleans not receive equal funding? That doesn't seem fair. Is it maybe a case of these aren't the areas that receive tourists? So maybe they're not the more businessy, touristy districts of the city. So it's residential and they're just not receiving the right amount of help and the right amount of funding. Is that the horrible reality of what's happened here?
Katrina didn't just drown a state. It exposed everything that was already broken underneath. And for thousands of people, the cost of that failure was permanent. The storm didn't destroy New Orleans. The system did.
I hate that. That is a
If you made it
chilling
this
phrase.
far, I appreciate you being here. These videos take a lot of time to put together, and every like, comment, and subscription genuinely helps keep them going. So if you want more stories like this, consider supporting the channel. And to everyone already supporting, whether you've been here a while or just found the channel, thank you. You are the reason these stories get told. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Show Dark Horizons some love, guys. Go and like and subscribe if you like these videos. Oh gosh, that last phrase is haunting. It's chilling, and I believe, given the information here, it's true, but you know, how do the victims of this natural disaster, or how do their families, how does that make these people feel? You know, the damage is done, and then to know that the majority of the devastation here wasn't actually inflicted by the storm, well, indirectly, but it was more the infrastructure that was already in place that led to, oh gosh, just the extent of the flooding. And it's unfair. It shouldn't happen. Is there an issue with funding, do you think, here? Do you think it was a case of there just wasn't the money available to reinforce these structures, or do what was advised, and that's how come it kind of dragged on a little bit and they were never done? Or is it a case of, no, the money was there, they just redirected it elsewhere, or just didn't spend? Or, you know, as Dark Horizons said earlier on in the video, the scientists that warned the authorities about this was laughed out of the room, which I think is unbelievably disgusting. It sucks, to say the absolute least. I just can't believe in this day and age, and we're only talking about 20 years ago, I just can't believe that these people aren't listened to, that authorities don't heed these warnings when you know so much is at risk from, you know, potentially these things failing. Or it makes me very, very sad. So I'm so sorry that happened. Residents of Louisiana, of New Orleans, it's horrible, and I can only see the devastation, obviously, through these video clips. I can't imagine what it would have been like to have actually witnessed, oh gosh, this storm and the flooding and the aftermath, rebuilding. It's awful. Brian, thank you so much for requesting this video. It's always interesting seeing the absolute, I would say, terror of these natural disasters. My heart does, it absolutely goes out to anyone that was impacted by this. I feel like there's nothing that I can actually say at this point that is worth actually saying it. Like, nothing I can say at this point is going to even describe how horrible this was. Very eye-opening. Like I say, as a Brit, we cannot comprehend these disasters, these natural disasters, or these weather extremes. They are absolutely shocking. I hope that the rebuilding wasn't too, I know they said that an awful lot of these districts haven't fully restored, you know, buildings, and I just think that's unbelievably sad, and there's probably more in-depth reasons as to why, and that just, it makes me even more sad. Guys, I'm not going to say I hope you enjoyed watching along with me, because it's a very hard video to watch. I hope you are still here at this point. This has turned into quite a long video. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.